Okay, and Jamison, you got a haircut and I'm loving it. I watched the video last week and I was like, wait a minute. Was their hair pulled back? Did they cut their hair? Oh my God, they cut their hair and I love it.
I totally did. I always think that I want long hair, and I'm always so much happier when I cut it all off.
I love it. I love it. I don't think I've ever seen it this short before. I know you have had it this short, but I've never got to see it and I love it. It looks awesome.
Thank
But
you.
when I was watching the video back, I was like, oh my God, how did I miss that the whole meeting? Crazy. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and get started. I wanted to announce that we're going to be going over Christopher Moore's, the last section of his book called Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal. And with this one, we do have one sort of trigger warning of unaliving themselves. So if that's something that's really hard for anybody to hear or deal with, they're more than welcome to click off the video and catch us next time. Another announcement is we'll be voting on MVP on the comments after this meeting. Melody won our wheel spin for the quiz for this book. No. I'm so sorry. I messed up, you guys. I'm so sorry. It was Melissa. Melissa Lucas won. I'm sorry, Melissa. Melody got her book chosen. So it is going to be Starter Villain by John Scalzi. And from what I understand, this is supposed to be fascinating. Like everyone that I've talked to who's read it loved it. So I'm curious. And we will also decide at the end of the meeting. This book only has 298 pages. I wasn't sure if you guys wanted to like section it in three sections of 90 pages or do two sections. I wasn't sure, so think on it. And then at the end, we'll come back to that. Then we'll go ahead and start with Melissa's not here, and I apologize. Well, she'll see the video. Your favorite quotes and funniest moments, if you have them, and we'll start with Erin.
Again, I didn't pick out any quotes this time, but I did have the funniest moment to me. And I did highlight it, but I don't remember what chapter it was. Maybe I can find it quickly. Was a part where Joshua was healing a little girl's affliction in her hand, and he like put her hand into like a middle finger and then had her flip off the Roman soldiers. I thought that was hilarious. I was laughing so hard.
I love
Um,
you.
and then the other thing that I thought was so funny is there was like this little, I think it was all within the same chapter. It was just this like little bit where Joshua would say, I can heal that affliction for you. And they would say, what affliction? I think it happened like three times. I was like dying. I don't know why it was so funny.
I love
But those
that
are the
too.
two for me.
Even though the book ended so sadly, there were some funny moments in this section, quite a few actually, from Joshua, which was shocking for me, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's usually Biff that's hilarious. Jameson, how about you?
I had a couple of quotes that I thought were really, I don't know, that I liked. It was when he said, "All faith comes from trying to see the future. All fear comes from trying to see the future, Biff. If you know what's coming, then you aren't afraid." And he said, "If there's anything that I learned from John the Baptist, it was that the sooner you confess a mistake, the quicker you can get to making new and better mistakes." And I thought that was funny.
I love that. That's so true, right?
I think I found like there are little subtle things that I found like there are a lot of moments that are really funny, but I found myself laughing at like the little subtle things, like when they're taking Joshua through the streets and the woman is yelling like to defend him, and Biff's like, "Stop helping," and I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but I really did.
Yeah, he has the best one-liners. Like I'll like go on like a few like because I'll be reading quickly and I'll get be like two pages ahead and I'll go back and I'll be like, oh my God, I totally missed that. Like he's hilarious. Karen, how about you?
So I like the part where Biff goes home and his mother starts hitting him, and she's like 17 years are gone and you couldn't write. And he's like, you don't know how to read. And then she said, so you couldn't said word, smart mouth. So I
Yeah.
thought that was hilarious. Um, and there was oh the part where they were saying, oh, here it is. They're talking about the divine spark, and you said you can't call it the divine spark. The people won't understand. And then, so they said, John said, Holy Ghost, call it the Holy Ghost. People understand that a ghost is in you, and they understand that it goes on after you. And you'll just have to make them believe that it's God.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was so interesting. Only because some people, the division of the two religions between like Christianity and like Buddhism and Hinduism and things like that, they believe in the divine spark. And but on the other side, it is the Holy Ghost. I thought it was really cool how they transition that. And oddly enough, like Catholic people are extremely superstitious and they derived a lot of their faith from Christianity. So I think that's funny. It's weird how literal they take it. And from his point of view, none of it was supposed to be taken quite literally. Like he talks in parables constantly and metaphors. And they take it like Bible truth that this is a fact. So if you tell me of a divine spark, they're going to think that there's a spark inside them. Melody, how about you? I know this is like a big top book for you. So I'm curious what you loved at the end.
When Biff couldn't remember the name of the design spark and he called it Sparky the Wonder Spirit, that kills me every time. I laugh so hard. And how he comes up with like names for books of the Bible, like what was it, Amphibians 5-7? There's no friggin' amphibians in the Bible. Leg of frogs. And when he talks about the different pages from the Kama Sutra,
Yeah.
the one readying the mongoose for trade in. Josh being drunk at the wedding
Oh,
and
that
wanting
was
to
so
have
funny.
rabbits. Where's the friggin' wine? I got a dry bunny over here.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, he was like rubbing it on his face. He's like, this is the softest things ever. Anytime
And
he's sad, he wants bunnies around.
yes, anything bad happens, there's got to be rabbits.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite quotes from the whole book, and I use it constantly, are blessed are the dumb fucks. Like we should give the fruit basket to the dumb fucks. No dumb fucks. And Josh just feels bad for them, which I get that.
I love that. I love that. Like he was really comedic at toward the end. Like you could really see him coming into his adulthood and how much Biff had influenced his personality. Udi, how about you?
You guys are cracking me up over here. I have a couple where they were talking about how nobody's perfect. Oh, but he was, and we killed him.
Yeah.
That made me laugh out loud. When Maggie was possessed and like all the green stuff coming out, all of the orifices, that whole encounter had me dying.
Oh, the things that she was saying. Well, oh my
Yes.
gosh, that would have been so bad for a woman to say back then. It's you, and he was so ashamed, but it was hilarious.
Yes, that was killing me. And then when he absolves the harlot of her sins, like all like you can't sin anymore. And she like walks away and Biff goes to follow her and he grabs him by the collar and he's like, no. He's all, but I already did it in my head, so that makes it okay. So let me just go do it. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Those were killing me.
Oh, they're great. Did you have any, Nikki?
You guys pretty much already hit everything on the head there. I mean, this whole book just had me dying.
It was so funny. It ended, I cried at the end. It was really hard for me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's my, but like the up until those very last chapters, it is nothing but hilarity. Maybe that's why it hit me so hard. Like I was so unexpected, and I know it was coming. Like I've read the Bible. It's like I didn't know. It just, I don't know. It was, I didn't know Biff was gonna do what Biff did. So we'll get there. Stephanie, how about you?
So, like Nikki, I agree. Everybody hit the nail on the head. But I think the blessed are the dumb fucks thing is the most hilarious. I laughed on that one.
Oh my goodness, that is
And
so
then,
true.
and then I have a quote. I just gotta find my page really quick. So, it was talking about the divine spark, but it says, "We are seekers. You are that which is sought, Joshua. You are the source. The end is divinity, and the beginning is the word. You are the word."
Yes. Yes, I also have that one highlighted. And I love when they write the Beatitudes. And they're like talking about who will like inherit, the meek will inherit the earth, and like the way they decide these like super important things, and how Joshua's just so blasé about it. Like, whatever, just give them whatever they want, you know? My favorite things that I thought were funny, my favorite quote was from John the Baptist, and how like he got so zealot over the sluts. Like he just really was impassioned about it, you know, and he couldn't come to terms with it. And he's like, even sluts. And Joshua said, yep, even sluts, especially sluts. And Biff, that they would be welcome into the kingdom. Um, and so he tells them, you know, you're the one that's cleansing people of their sins. They should be forgiven. And he says, I know, but Gentile sluts in the kingdom? He shook his head around now by the Messiah himself, that the world was going to hell in a handbasket because of all the sluts. I loved that. And that his big mouth about sluts is what ends up getting him killed. And then Thomas ended up being my second favorite character, because he's like, I don't know, his little friend, you know, like I had so much compassion and sympathy with him, and I would be totally the type of person that would believe him about it. And that he didn't want his affliction healed like Mary and like the brother. I thought that was really cool. But my favorite quote was I just because I relate to it. They all think I'm mad, Thomas said. They laugh at me behind my back. Thomas too has told me. And Joshua says, Thomas, you know, I can lay my hands upon you and you will be cured. Thomas, too, will no longer speak to you. The others won't laugh at you. Thomas walked along for a while without even saying anything, but when he looked back at Joshua, I could see tears streaking his cheeks. If Thomas, too, goes away, then I'll be alone. You won't be alone. You'll have me, is what Joshua says. And I relate to that so much. Every time I turn to my faith that I grew up with or whatever in my life, it's always when I'm going through some type of like isolation, when I feel like I have nowhere else to turn. So that was the only reason why it really hit me in the field. I go back and forth between I believe this and I don't believe it. So anyway, we're going to move on. And we'll start with Stephanie. Do you think Joshua would have made it to maturity without Biff? And do you think Jesus had any human, not divine help in becoming who he was, besides, and then you can maybe consider Mary, his mom, divine because she was the Immaculate Conception. So you go ahead and tell me that first.
I think he would have made it to maturity, but I think it would have been a lot less funny and he would have been more serious. But I think that Biff really helped Joshua to come into his own and to come up with what should be in the Bible. I thought that's really cute and he did a great job. So I think he would be kind of lost without Biff. And then what was the second part of the question?
Do you think that, like, if, let's say, outside of this book, the book is fiction, let's say that the Bible was, you know, do you think there was somebody along the way like Biff? Like, do you think that's plausible that he had a friend that wasn't, you know, like blessed or divine in some way? Or do you think, what are your feelings?
So I never really thought about that,
Yeah.
but I think every person that comes into your life, it influences you in some aspect. So I think he probably did have a best friend at some point that was kind of, keeping him on the straight and narrow. They
Yeah.
might have been a hellion themselves, but not Jesus.
Well, I mean, historically, he was drawn to the sinners and sluts. So,
Yeah.
like, they probably were wild. And then my
Yeah.
final question on this one is, did you have a friend like that?
Uh, I did have a friend. She was my best friend. She was crazy. It was so much fun, but then we had our falling out. But I mean, I think if I didn't have her in my life, I wouldn't have learned a lot of the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good thing.
Oh, how about you, Nikki? I know you haven't, you know, you don't have much thoughts on the actual Bible. So we'll just ask the part where do you think in this instance Joshua would have made it to maturity without Biff?
Absolutely not.
No, he protected.
I absolutely not. Biff helped him out in so many situations that he didn't even realize. Like,
Yeah. He was oblivious to like dangers and things, like Biff
he
kept him
was,
safe.
and he didn't know how to like lie or cheat or do all
Oh,
these things that
yeah.
just plain out would have gotten him killed.
Yes, way sooner, I think. And then so did you ever have a friend like that in childhood or adulthood that you like feel like transformed you as a person, humanized you more, made you better or
I
worse?
do. I do. So I actually had this girlfriend of mine. She's like 10 years older than me, but I met her when I was probably about like 20, 21, and she helped me through like the worst 7 years of my life. And I feel like without her, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Oh, I love that. I'm glad I asked this question. I was wanted to learn this stuff about you guys. How about you, Udi? What do you think? You think you would have made it without Biff?
Hell no. I think Biff saved him a lot, especially like the fact that he can't lie. The money issue would have gotten him killed.
Yeah, I feel like he would have been protected. I think he would have suffered so much more. Do you know what I mean? Like, really
Hmm.
struggled, like way worse than he did. And then, have you ever had a friend like that?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of friends that I really rely on that have helped me grow and see things from different perspectives and stuff like that. Because I was the wild one.
Oh, I love it. So you were the Biff.
Yeah, I was the Biff. I am the Biff. I'm still the Biff.
I love it so much. I, like Joshua, am most attracted to people who are like that. Yeah, I'd rather sit with the sinners than the saints in that's just me. Melody, how about you?
Um, well, I think he would have made it because, I mean, wouldn't God have to intervene on his behalf, like in somehow? But like, I think Udi or Nikki just said that it would have been a lot more uncomfortable. You might have said it too. Um, he would have not had it. I don't want to say as easy because he gets crucified, but up until then, like things went kind of smoothly for him in places where they really could not have.
Right?
And it seems like God's a big fan of letting people suffer. So, you know, uh,
Yeah,
could have
yeah,
done that. In the actual Bible, I could see him having a friend like that,
something,
or
something.
some
Yeah.
sort of friends, multiple friends. But if they were like Biff, there's a reason they got left out of the Bible.
Yes. Yeah, most certainly. I honestly, I think if it, in my opinion, I think if it were up to Christ, he, outside of this, actually, I think if it were up to Christ, he would have been in it. I think he liked people like that. I really do.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong, even with the suicide.
yeah.
They kind of say that's why he was admitted, but I don't think Christ would do that. At least mine wouldn't. Karen, how about you?
Um,
Wait, I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead, and I'll come back to Melody. I didn't ask you if you had any friends, Melody, that were like that. I'm sorry, I
oh,
got
you
on my
can you
heels.
can go ahead.
The end of this book has got me, guys.
Yeah, I had two very good friends that I still have that I met even I think one I met in preschool and one that lived down the road from me. We were friends from the time we were like 5
Oh my
and we're
God.
still friends. None of us were like bad or good or we were pretty mellow, but without them I definitely wouldn't be the same person.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Those people are like our core.
mm.
Okay, I'm sorry, Karen. Go ahead.
Okay, that's okay. Um, yeah, in the book, I believe that if Jesus didn't have Biff, his life would have been a lot less fun and entertaining. Um, because when you're reading the Bible, or at least for me, in my opinion, Jesus was portrayed as being a loner. Um, so I feel that Biff in the story gives him an outlet to to think his thoughts and
have a friend who's there to protect him when he needed to get out of his little hijinks that they get into.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That like whole process thing that he does with him is like the best part of their like bonding, just
Right.
bouncing ideas off of each other. Have you ever had a friend like that?
Um, I would say actually my sister is my best friend. We had our issues growing up where we fought a lot but now as an adults, we both have each other's backs and are
Hmm.
very protective over each other.
How
So,
many years apart are you?
4.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay.
No.
Yeah. As you get older, you can really bond with siblings that are that close. Absolutely. Jameson, how about you? So, do you think you would have survived without him?
No, I think he said it in the book. He would still be stuck in that wine jug, and if he would have made it that far. Um, I mean, I think it's really lonely to think that somebody made it that far, as far as like the actual Jesus. Like, it's really lonely to think he made it that far without somebody like that around. Like I think I think he probably did have somebody
I would
like
hope.
that. Um, I have two friends actually that like one that I've had since I don't know, since probably junior high, and then one that I met later in my life. But if it weren't for both of them, I may not still be here, honestly. Um, just one of them because she came along exactly when I needed her to. Like my life was falling apart, and she was absolutely a rock. And the other one, just because, like, they say you have a friend who like hypes you up to do dumb shit, and one who like talks you down. I
Yeah.
have two to talk me down. I don't need anyone to hype me up to do the dumb shit. So they're like, no, listen, come back down here and let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So
So you're the
that's
Biff.
yes, yes, definitely.
I love it. I love it. How about you, Aaron?
Um, what was the first part of the question?
Do you think he would have
Oh,
made it like as long as he did without Biff?
I do. Yeah, just like the other girl said, I think that he would have made it because he would have had divine intervention. I mean, he was destined. So it wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have been fun. I don't think. I think it would have been a hard life, but yeah, I do think he would have made it. And then about friends, I mean, I guess so. I haven't had like one best friend like from childhood till now. I think different people come in your life at different times for different reasons. But yeah, I feel like I've always had a close friend at all parts of my life, whether it be friends that bring me out of my comfort zone or friends that are just there to listen. It just different people at different. And my husband's like, oh, that's me.
Hello,
Um, yeah.
Cody.
So could it be? Could I say my husband is my best friend? He really is, but yeah.
Oh, I love that. I think he would have made it. However, I don't think his ability to recruit apostles, his way to form his religion the way that he did would have been as impactful, or like I think that Biff was a huge part of him and made him more human and made him understand how people felt, like literally living vicariously through him. So that was my feeling on that. And then as far as a best friend goes, I have a best friend that my mom and her mom went to high school together, and they were really good friends, and they moved into an apartment complex where we were only a house away from each other. And she's about 3 years older than me, but she's always like been fiercely protective, taking me under her wing, and she is my Biff. She is so wild that after we got really close, they would say that she created a monster in me, that she brought the wild out of me. I was really demure and shy and stuff. So I have that to thank to Angie, who was when I went to see Cyndi Lauper with, if you guys remember. Um, so the other question I wanted to ask, and it's actually in the comments from Melody, is I think Lamb could be a fantastic movie. And I thought this was a really lighthearted question before we get into some deep stuff, is if you could pick who would play one of your favorite characters, whether it's Maggie, Biff, Joshua, whoever, do you have anybody in your mind while reading it? And I can see Erin shaking her head because that's who I was going to start with.
No, I don't. Some people, when they read like books, they picture a specific person. I have never done that, and I can't. Like, my mind makes the characters up as like their own unique person. So I
Yeah.
haven't even thought about that. I have no idea who I would pick, and it's so hard for me. Like when I read like little things on my favorite books about like Dreamcast, I'm like that doesn't fit because that's not what my mind made up. So I don't know. So
Yeah.
no,
I
I have
think
no idea.
I think that's actually common because a lot of people, the people that say like the book was better when the
Hmm.
movie is made, it's usually because like those aren't the people that I got attached to. These are who
Yeah,
are these people, you know? Um,
yeah.
how about you, Jameson? Did you have anybody that you were like, oh, I could definitely see them playing this role?
I didn't until you said it because like I don't picture people that I already know. I make up people in my head, I think, but as soon as you said it, I'm like Adam Sandler. Like that's who I want Biff to be. Like I
Yeah.
don't
Oh, I would love that so much. I love that. I do. That would be a perfect Biff. How about you, Karen? Do you have Ghostface Udi? I saw, look, but you have my favorite. Look how big his butt's gotten, you guys. Oh my God. He's eating well. That's my baby boy. Okay, Karen, tell me, what do you have anybody that you could think for like any of the characters, whether it be Mary, Maggie, the angel, um, Joshua, Biff?
Again, I didn't picture, like Jameson said, I didn't picture anybody in my head until you said something.
Yeah.
And I was picturing Biff just now as Matthew McConaughey.
Okay. Like, all right, all right, all right. I can totally see that. Yes. Great. How about you, Melody? Since this is your question, I just wonder if you have any ideas on that.
Um, I don't, when I read, I don't picture things in my head. I don't see pictures, don't see things at all. Like, so, there's this series of books that I've read. It's like 26 books, the same main character. I couldn't tell you what she looks like because I don't know anybody with that name to like put with that name.
Yeah.
All I know is she's got short hair. That's it. But as far as this book, I think like Tom Holland might do a good job.
Okay. Yeah. Yes,
And
especially
I don't know him from
recently.
a lot of things, but from that the lip sync battle that he did, like I'll vote for him for anything.
But yeah. Okay. How about you, Udi? Where's Ghostface going? I cannot get,
He
he's
is
like the size of
done.
Mary Jane.
He is done. He's just like, let me go back.
I know. You said that he's like me. He doesn't like affection. He's like,
He's
no.
very shy. He has to, yes. He's like, I'm over it. This one's like, yes, love me. I'm okay with this.
No.
Honestly, the character I picture is the narrator that I'm listening to, Fisher Stevens. I could picture him being Biff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did
Just
think the Audible book was really good. Like
I,
I just
I'm giggling over here listening to him.
yeah, he's really good at it. I really took to him too. How about you, Nikki? Did you have anybody in mind?
Not particularly. I'm also the type that like I really struggle picturing people, but once I actually you mentioned it and I thought about it, the only person that comes to mind for any of the characters is probably like what's his name? The one that plays Sheldon from Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah,
I
uh-huh.
could see him playing Jesus.
Jim
Like,
Parsons. He could even
yeah,
he could pull it off. He
I
could
could see him playing Joshua just because he is so like to a T. Like,
yes.
follow the rules, do what you got to do.
Yeah, yes. I could see that. I could see emoteless, like sometimes, like yeah. Stephanie, how about you?
So I'm like Jameson. I just picture things in my head, but once you said that, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Toast of London or What We Do in the Shadows, but
Yes.
Matt Berry would be a great Biff. He would.
Oh, I love that so much. So I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know if it's my neurodivergency or whatever, but I always picture like a screenplay and I always come up with a soundtrack. I don't know if you guys know that, but I always load a soundtrack on my Spotify for every book we read. But I don't know what's wrong with me. But the whole time that I listened to this, I thought of Bradley Cooper, like Joshua would look like from Shallow, what the song where you sing with Lady Gaga and they sing Shallow and it's like hair's long with the beard and stuff. I saw him looking very much like that with like a darker skin tone. And then as far as Mary Magdalene went, I thought she'd be somebody that was like super feisty and funny and ginger. I don't know why, but I was like like towards Julia Roberts a lot. Like, but that's just me. I just was curious what you guys thought. That was my second question. And then I went to talk about Stephanie's question. Um, why do you think the poison didn't work on Joshua, or did he fight it somehow? And Stephanie, we'll start with you. Oh, Aubrey Plaza. I love Aubrey Plaza. Yes. Go ahead, Stephanie.
So that was so I thought about this question a lot. I think that if it's meant to be, it was going to happen, but I wonder if maybe with all of his training with the monastery and all that, if he was able to fight it off somehow, or maybe it was because it was God's will anyway. So no matter what happened, it wasn't going to work. So that's where I'm kind of torn between.
Yeah, I have a theory, but I want to hear what you guys think first. Nikki, I'm with you on that. What do you think?
No, I thought the same thing. I thought it kind of had something to do along with his training of how he can just kind of like pretty much separate himself from his body. And
Yeah,
maybe that's why it didn't affect him.
that is definitely one way to look. I thought that could be a possibility too. He can just pull away from the self, from the actual flesh. Yeah. Udi, how about you?
Those were my thoughts too. And then, of course, it's Jesus.
Right, right, yeah. Melody, did you have any thoughts on it, or do you have a theory?
Um, I was trying to remember it. I haven't read the Bible in a long time, but I think in the Bible, when they try to give him, they don't give him wine. They won't let him give him wine. So they give him vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't drink it.
Oh.
So I think he might have just pretended to drink because he knew what Biff was doing.
Okay, that's
He
also
made that
another theory.
slurping sound, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he actually ingested it. He would have known that it was coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's
I think.
yeah. Well, I'm sure, knowing Biff, yeah, he would be like, "Oh Lord, he's up to something," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Karen? Did you have any theories on it?
I actually had the same thought as Melody. Like I was thinking that he didn't actually take the poison.
That's
Yeah,
possible. That's
I think
possible.
that he knew that this was his fate, so
Yeah.
he wasn't going to stop.
Right. Right. And he was so hell bent on going through with it, you know. Jameson, did you have any thoughts on it?
He tells Biff, have faith. Like he said it in Sanskrit or something. He's like, have faith. So I assumed he either didn't drink enough of it or he pretended not to, or like, I just don't think he had any intention of doing that. For a second, I thought that they were going to steer it towards like, this is why he came back after 3 days
Yeah, I
because
thought
Biff
so
saved
too.
him.
I was like, holy
But
crap.
I
Right.
was like, okay, well, but no, I just assumed that he had no intention of being saved.
Aaron, I'm curious, if your thoughts went towards where mine went. So no one else has yet though.
In my mind, I just equated like poison to sickness, and he's Jesus, so he can't get sick. That's just where my mind went. I
Mhm.
mean, I assume that or if he did, God would like immediately heal him, and it wouldn't matter. So that's where
That's
I went
sort of
with
where,
it.
yeah, that's sort of what he's omniscient. He's all powerful. He can heal other people of leprosy. He can definitely heal himself of poison. He can walk on water. Like, I don't know. I just discerned like all of my, I don't know, skepticism when it comes to that. So I just instantly thought, well, if he did, then he killed himself instantly. But he can suffer a hangover. You are right. He can suffer a hangover. However, he can turn water into wine. So Lord only knows how much that man drank. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get into some deep stuff now. And then we'll end with something light. So my first question is, Karen and I both wondered this. Karen's question was more general, and it was, what did you think of the end of the book? And I broke it into two questions. Joshua being crucified traumatized Biff so deeply he took his own life. What are your thoughts on what happens to people that commit suicide in the afterlife? And then what are your thoughts on what Biff did? And I'll start with Aaron.
I really don't know what happens when you do that. What I was taught was people who take their own lives go to hell.
A lot of
That's
people.
like a very bad thing to do. But I don't know because I really believe in the paranormal. I don't know if you guys do or not, but I believe in ghosts and I like watch a lot of ghost stories and stuff. And you all like I hear a lot of people seeing a ghost of someone who had killed themselves. Um, my grandma used to live in a house where someone did kill themselves. They hung themselves in a bedroom. No one in our family, it was someone that used to live there, but she would tell me that she would see that person. So I mean, I don't know. I would assume that you would go to hell, but I also think that there's more that you can experience than just heaven and hell after you die. Like your soul does something. I don't think it just disappears. So I don't know.
I love that you keep an open mind about it, considering what you've been taught. Do you know what I mean? Like you have your instinct to say one thing, but you're open-minded enough to say, well, maybe not. I like
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know.
Jameson, I'm not even sure what you think of the afterlife for people who just exist. So, is it different if you take that way?
I don't. Ugh, I don't know. I don't want to believe that there is a God who would create you to like people who suffer from depression and mental illness and people who I don't want to believe that there is a God who would make you that way and then punish you when it's just too much for you to go on. Like I don't want to believe that. Um I think like the suicide, do you go to hell? Like I think that's a very Christian way to look at it, and I'm not Christian. I mean, I'm not strictly Christian, so I think maybe that's like not a question for me. I think that I mean, I'm like Aaron. I'm all about the ghost shows and the ghost hunting, and I'll go anywhere that's haunted. But I think I've always believed that when you die, you don't die. Like we go on after that is what
Mhm.
I think. I don't know what form that takes, but I think that we learn something from the life that we're in now, and then we move on, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
So, I mean, part of me always thought like people like that, maybe they just learn too much and they're done with this life and they have to go.
Yeah.
And like maybe that's just what I tell myself because I have people that are close to me that I really worry about, but I just don't think that I don't think that that's a flaw that they're going to be punished for later. I don't know.
I love that. I love that. How did it make you feel in the book when you read it?
It was so sudden. Like, I mean, I don't, I guess like there was no like contemplation or leading up to it. And I was just like, oh my, like immediately I was real mad. I was like, what are you talking about? But like I didn't even have time to like process it before it was like, okay, well, obviously he's alive. He's writing the book. So um I don't know. I'm always like it always makes me sad that somebody feels that sad and alone that they feel like that's their only option. But
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. How about you, Karen? As somebody who's, atheist, is it any different for you when somebody chooses versus it being natural?
Um, I, as I said, I don't really believe in heaven and hell, so I don't think committing suicide puts you in any negative aspect. It is a shame, when people do commit suicide, that they feel that that's the only option. Um, I did have a really good friend of mine commit suicide years and years ago. Um, and you know, I still wish he had just gotten help instead of choosing that as an option. Um, but I don't know what his state of mind was at the time. I don't know if he was really drugged and that he thought that was the option. But it's suicide on the whole is just a sad thing.
Devastating, right? Like, he murdered Judith, and I didn't even give that any thought other than like, oh my God, Judith didn't kill himself, Biff did. But like the murder wasn't, we're so desensitized to that for some reason. But then the suicide, I was just like, like why? Like, but it's usually people like him that are most likely to do something that extreme. They're usually the happiest people. It's just really bizarre.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's so you don't so it even if let's say Biff would have grown old to be an old crazy man and died in his sleep, do you think that he would have gone to the same grave and waited all that time to come back? Or do you think that he just would have ceased to exist? Or do you think everybody ceased to exist? Just curious, like what your take is on that.
Um, well, obviously I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what really happens. And but I'm more leaning towards I don't think there's anything else.
Right.
But I think I mentioned in another meeting that my mom was a religious person and she believed in heaven and hell. And I'd like to think when I think about her that she got what she wanted, that she
Hmm.
went to heaven.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then I'm very happy that she got what she wanted. I just have a lot of problems with the hypocrisies of
Mm.
of religion, especially when they talk about heaven and hell.
Oh yeah.
Um, because like I grew up thinking like, okay, if you are a serial killer and 5 seconds before you die, you say, I follow God or I accept Jesus as my Christ, then I'm absolved of all my sins and I go to heaven. Where somebody who's committed suicide doesn't go to heaven.
Hmm.
That has always been a hard part for me.
It's a
So,
hard part, I think, for everyone. I appreciate you being vulnerable enough to say it. Yeah. Yeah, I think we all struggle with that. That's something really hard to wrap your mind around. Melody, how about you? So, starting back at the beginning, what are your thoughts on what happens to people that commit suicide in the afterlife? And what are your thoughts on what Biff did? How did it make you feel? And I really, really wanted to ask you after when this happened, I was like Jameson, and I was like, what in the actual hell just happened? And why has she gifted this book out to so many people? So mad about this. So I'm still really in my feels about it. So tell me more about your take on it.
Okay, so um like Jameis had said, I can't, I consider myself agnostic. I don't know what's out there. I've I have no idea. But I can't get behind the idea of a God that creates someone, that has those issues and then shuns them when they react to their mental illness. Or I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
No, yeah, you are.
But I just can't get behind that idea. So I think if there is a heaven or an afterlife, speaking of afterlife, I really hope you guys all read that book, Some 40 Tales of the Afterlives.
Oh, I already ordered it.
It is beautiful. In some spots it's really hard to read, but for the most part, like it warmed my heart in a lot of places.
I'm
But
glad.
I think if there's a heaven, someone who commits suicide, as long as they were a good person, they're going to heaven.
So whatever, if you're a good person or whatever
Yeah.
defines a good person, even if you kill yourself or if you just die of natural causes, you go to the same place or whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
I don't consider suicide to be a sin.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the first time I read this book, when that happened, Judas, like you said, it wasn't a big deal because as soon as they mentioned his name, like I just want to punch him in the face.
Right.
Knowing the story and everything. And then the way the character's written, he's not a very likable person. But the first time I read this book, I burst into tears. I mean, loudly, like it was horrible.
Oh my God, the dogs came over to me. They thought I was
Yeah,
something of an episode. I was like, I could
and
not catch my
exactly.
breath.
I still tear up every time I read it.
Oh,
Just because I just felt for him, like having that much pain to love someone that much and, them be gone. And it would be hard to have faith that he would be back in 3 days, even though he said he would be. Just, your best friend, your reason for living pretty much is gone. But he does come back and he gets to make things right, gets to be with Maggie again. So it does end on a
I love
positive
that part.
note.
I love that part. I do. I love that. I love that it ended in a happy ending.
I think I hope Emily reads this because I think as an author, she would appreciate the epilogue in this book.
I think she would too. I hope she read it on vacation. I'm really curious if she did. Udi, how about you?
I have to say that I just finished the book like right before we started, so I was bawling my eyes out and I was all red and I was just like, I can't believe he did that. And then yeah, of course he did come back. But I like to think that everybody gets their own sense of peace when they go. I don't I want to say I want to say it was like a supernatural episode where they were in the afterlife and it's like their own little movie.
Hmm.
They get to go and they get to go about their life as if they never really died, and they get to see all the people that passed away, like their mom was alive, their dad was alive, and everybody was just like one big happy family. That's how I feel that everybody should get, minus the pedos and murderers and shit like that. But I
Yeah,
feel that everybody should get their own little sense of peace, especially the ones that desperately, can't handle being alive.
hmm,
I feel like they deserve the most happiness out of everybody.
I do too. I do too. I love that you referred to Supernatural. It's probably my favorite TV show of all time. And Jameson reminds me of Dean Winchester all the time. And so, yeah, I love that you mentioned that. And I think you're onto something with like your own personal afterlife. Or maybe it's like Midnight Library, like Ann said. Yeah, you never know. Nikki, how about you? How did it make you feel?
I cried.
Yeah.
Like I've been there. I had my aunt and my uncle, or my cousin and my uncle, commit suicide when I was younger.
Oh,
And so suicide's really, really hard. But I've also been there because I've been suicidal before, so I also understand it.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, it was hard. It made me cry when I read it.
I'm so sorry for your loss and for your struggles, and I appreciate you being open about that. It's something really taboo,
It
but
is.
I think it's more common than what we know, you know?
It is. And it's so hard whenever like somebody like me who's not religious, you get the whole, oh, well, they sinned, they went to hell, this and that. And I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe in sin. I would hope that like a part of me wants to believe in like a type of reincarnation type of like you get to come back as either person or animal type of deal.
Mhm.
That's what I hope. Like I know my cousin loved butterflies, and we hope that she came back as a butterfly.
Oh my God. Okay. You're gonna make me cry. Oh, Stephanie, how about you, honey? What did you think? I'm surprised you did not text me and say this is bullshit, because you usually do when you're mad at the book.
And I mean, it it upset me because I'm like, that just came out of nowhere. But I'd like to think that a God wouldn't punish, like what everybody else was saying, a God wouldn't punish somebody for something that they were created with. And I I would like to think we all have our own personal experience after death with like our loved ones or whatever you'd like, but I really think that we come back time after time after time, and then eventually when you've learned everything that you need to learn, then you have your peace
I think that's
forever.
beautiful. I think that's beautiful. Um, yeah. Uh, Me personally, I don't know if you guys have seen, but I have a Just Breathe tattoo, and the J is a semicolon. I've survived suicide twice. I like when Erin and I became friends, I told her I'm like a cockroach. Everyone around me keeps dying. I've tried to die, I just can't. I don't know why, but it meant to be here for a reason. But I've lost so many people, including my very first boyfriend, to suicide. So that really, really hurt. To see Biff, but I would hope whatever afterlife there is, considering we come to this hellscape and suffer the whole damn time, that whatever is after this, if there is a creator and a higher being, we get some kind of reward for this bullshit. And people like that, I feel like suffer the most, so I feel like they get a bigger reward. That is my hope, and the only way I can cope. So I was really, really enlightened by what you guys shared and feel a little bit better about it. My second part of the question is, and it's deep too, and you do not have to answer if you don't want to. But we're going to start with Stephanie. Joshua's religious persecution completely changed Biff to the point where he went from this like happy-go-lucky person to a murderer and was killing himself. Have you ever experienced religious trauma or something that made you change at a core level that changed your faith with whatever you had?
So my mom's death changed me a lot in what I believed in, and every time I would pray, I felt a sense of peace. So I think my mom's death actually helped me be more spiritual and more well, I don't really consider myself religious. It's more spiritual, but I think that's one thing that changed me. And another thing, so my mom, she had MRSA before it became a whole big thing. And I was reading at the time in the Bible about the lepers being cast out, and that pissed me off. I threw my Bible. And just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just too much.
Oh, wow. I've seen you, since your mom passed, go through all stages of grief, and I think you're finally at acceptance. And it's like, it comes in waves, like whatever, but I can see you finally finding you're less angry as you were. Nikki, how about you? Has there ever been a time where well, you did try to explore Wicca, right? And there was no
Yeah.
support.
All right. I took my headphones off because I'm playing Baldur's Gate, so it's not like that I can't hear you guys. I guess I'm getting real tonight. My daughter's not down here, so I can actually be open about this. There was a time, for the longest time, not only did I explore Wicca, I wanted to be religious. I wanted to have that, that feeling, that community feeling, that just I see all these religious people and they seem like always happy and go lucky, and I always wanted that. I had two moments in my life that absolutely destroyed any thoughts of religion for me. And that the first one was in 2014. I miscarried a set of twins. And I tried to hold out hope after that. And then in 2017, I had my daughter, my rainbow baby. So that was awesome. I was like, okay, maybe there is hope here. And okay, so I'm trying to think of how to word this by making it quick without making a long story. My daughter's donor, her biological father, I was with him for 7.5 years. His oldest daughter lived with us. She's 18 now. She's my goddaughter, the one that I speak of every now and then.
Yeah.
When she was about 14, I left him due to cheating, abuse, stuff like that. And when I left, we had found out that he was sexually assaulting her. And I think after that all came out, I gave up all hope of any religion because, in my eyes, no God is going to allow anything like that to happen to any child.
Yeah, I can see that completely. I am so sorry. I have two rainbow babies.
Do you?
Yeah, so
I
they're
have a rainbow baby, and my daughter, thankfully, she was young enough that she does not know anything about him. In her eyes, my current husband, that's her father. So
oh, I love that. I love that. And I'm glad you got away. Um,
that was one of the reasons I moved to Ohio was I needed a fresh start for my daughter and I. My goddaughter had moved out to California and I
yeah.
needed to go to Pennsylvania, so I moved here to Columbus with my mom, and that's what brought me here.
Oh, that's good though. Like you had a little bit of you had perseverance.
It did, and that's I met my husband here. Like it was just all up and up once I left all that behind me.
Oh, Nikki, you're making me cry. Stop. Oh, no.
It's like tonight is the night that I'm opening up, and I'm like, shit.
Oh, it makes me happy though that you've reached this point, but I totally get the suffering and seeing other people suffer. Like Stephanie said, her mom dying, like seeing somebody that we love be harmed or lost, I swear it affects us worse than our own.
Oh,
It just does
absolutely.
something. Yeah.
Absolutely. In the 7.5 years that I dealt with all of that with him, that's when I met my best friend, the one that got me through all those things. So,
Oh, you were sent little divine angels to give you like the Jamesons that came in the hardest part of their life.
yep.
Whether it's the universe or what, it's good that at least we get a look by with a little bit of help with our friends, you know? Udi, how about you, honey?
Oh, you guys are making me cry here. Thank you for sharing your story. Um, I had religion forced on me a lot as a kid. So I couldn't believe that there was some, you know, that I had to put these people in this category and judge them for that what they've done. When, yeah, I couldn't get behind that. I still can't get behind that. I feel that I don't know how to say it. Um, I just feel that those who really should be judged
Yeah,
are getting the shorthand of they're just getting like kind of like swept under the rug.
it's a little ass backwards. It's like the people
Yeah,
who are doing the bad things should be getting that, not,
exactly.
yeah.
And like I watched one of my best friends suffer through ALS, and most kindred like spirit that I've ever met, one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever known in my entire life, and didn't even make it to 35.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. It's a horrible disease. Horrible. Um, yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't understand suffering like that. That is what made me, I am a little relieved that my faith was questioned similar to why your guys's was, with the amount of suffering that happened. It's just unfortunate. Melody, how about you? Have you ever had any kind of religious trauma or any type of thing that really like shook you?
Um, Not like the rest of you. I have been very fortunate in my life. I've lost friends to suicide and overdoses and things like that, and lost family members, but I don't, I don't feel like I've really suffered any trauma, I guess. I mean, everybody has trauma, but not anything that has really like affected me. I went to church when I was younger, clear through high school. It was a pretty laid back United Church of Christ. So it wasn't like the you're going to hell, fire and brimstone type of deal. I just didn't like what I read. And
Mm-hmm.
then as I got older, like Udi was just saying, her friend who was the purest soul suffered so hard. Like I can't get behind the idea of a God like that would make people suffer like that. I can't do it.
Oh,
Um,
why? Yeah.
And I try to be the best person I can be. And I try to align myself with people that are the best people they can be. And I think that's good enough.
Oh, I know. I'm glad. I expected something different. I relate to I see the darkness in you. So I was expecting there would be some deep trauma there, but I'm intrigued by that now. There's more to get to know, apparently. Karen, how about you? I know you had shared a little bit about what happened to your grandson.
Mhm. Um, and he's great, by the way. I'll just say that. We had him over today and he's the love of our lives. So,
Oh,
um, and it always feels good when he says, I don't want to leave Mama and Papa's house.
yeah.
Um, so, but, um, I mean, I've had quite a bit of trauma in my life. But I started questioning religion when I was pretty young. Um, and I felt that I could not get any answers. Like, why should we be doing this? Why, I was forced religion on me as well, until the point my mom knew that it wasn't going to fly anymore for me. So,
Yeah.
um, but I have a lot of the same thoughts as Melody does about organized religion and stuff like that. I feel like I do have values that are very similar of how I want to live and be kind to people and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. You can be a completely moral, wonderful person and not have to partake in any type of religious. You're proof of that.
But I agree that, for me, I can't believe in a God that would cause so much suffering and things that just don't make sense. Like, you know, um, so that is a hard part for me for religion. Um, and as I said, I don't mind if other people have that. I just don't want them to come and try to force it down my face.
Yeah,
Like,
that's another
you
problem. Yeah,
know,
very, very good point that no one has made. That is another problem.
right,
It is constantly being societally conditioned upon you.
right.
It just causes resistance and resentment. Yeah, very good point.
Yes.
Jameson, how about you? I'm curious to hear if you've had any turning point, or have you always been this way?
This thing. I mean, not really. One of the things that my mom did really well was to let me make up my own mind about religion, mostly. Um, she was always like, you can't, that's not a thing that you force onto somebody. So I don't necessarily have religious trauma. Um, and I tried to do that for my kids. Um, their dad, who is amazing, he is an atheist, which is not the point, but I married into a very religious family. Some of them Catholic, some of them I don't eat. Nazarene is the
Oh,
closest thing that I can find. Um, and I married into this very big, very religious family and turned out to have queer transgender children, which, didn't go over well. And I got a call one day because I needed to come to the house because they were performing an exorcism on my child. And it didn't go well for the people performing the exorcism. So,
holy smokes. I'm surprised they're not in your backyard.
yeah, I was like, you can take your hands off my child or they're going to arrest somebody. And it might be me, but they're definitely going to do it. I've never been so angry in my life. My child was terrified,
Oh my
just
gosh.
just terrified. Like, and the amount of like talking and therapy that a kid needed after that. Like, no, there is nothing wrong with you. No, you are not possessed by a demon. Like, you're fine. And logically, they know that, but you could just see like the fear on both of their faces that I might not be okay. And I mean, and thank goodness somebody had the sense to, like, their dad had the sense to say, I don't, this is not okay. Like, I don't know what's going on, but we need to. And we both got there at about the same time. And we're like, absolutely not. This is because it was done under the guise of like, come over, we're going to have a cookout. And
Oh,
yeah, it was awful and gross. And my oldest got married in a Jewish synagogue last year, and none of his dad's family came to the wedding. None of them. His dad has two brothers, a sister. They're all married. They have kids. His parents, his dad is passed, but his mom would not come. My mother came to the wedding. She thought it was fantastic. But his family is very, so like all of my religious trauma is that I was trying to protect my kids from religious trauma.
well, thank God or universe, goddesses that they had you, right?
Yeah, it was it's funny, like it's not funny, but like marrying into that family, I saw the faith that they had and the belief in things and the speaking in tongues and the prayer meetings. And I mean, I went to some of these because spirituality in general fascinates me. And like it got to a point where I saw like this is like, well, it's not a cult, but like we're
Real
just like
close.
we're just like 10 people short. Like like I can't do this anymore. Um and it was very like women should be submissive, and you and I was like, yeah, this we're not playing this game anymore. Um and but at the point that it affected my children, I mean, and this is after we were divorced, that they had done this to my kids. So yeah, it was, they were still in high school when they did it. And I was like, absolutely not. This is, I am,
Irate.
I may need bail money. I'll be back. Like, I'm not going to let somebody do that to my kids. Um, they're okay now. And very thankful that I am not crazy, I guess. I'm the same way though. Like, I have no problem with Christian people. I know some amazing, wonderful Christian people who would never ever do that.
No, no.
And then there's those people. And so it's I think religion is I think it's like I said, I think it's what it means to you. And if that's what your religion means to you, I don't want to know you, and I don't want my kids to know you. I want them to know the people that are a little more like Jesus than, I don't know, David Koresh. I don't.
Oh my gosh. I had
Yeah.
no idea. I had no idea. And that is just absolutely horrific. I don't know if I could watch that happen to somebody that I felt responsible for
Oh,
and
I didn't.
hold myself back from like the pure rage. I was like, I don't know. I would just devastate me. I would be so angry.
I did not. It literally pulled people away from my kids. And I told them if they ever put their hands on my kids again, somebody would go to jail.
I'm so sorry. And it's disgusting the way that you blurred into it. That's awful.
It
Absolutely.
was it was scary.
Yeah, it is terrifying. Erin, how about you, honey? I know you still have a really um somewhat good connection with your original faith, although I know you have opened your mind to other ideas. Have you ever had anybody make you feel, judged or less than because of it? I mean, I feel like we've lived in a society now that's more anti-Christian than Christian. And so have you ever felt like bad because you've held on to those?
I don't think so. I don't think that I've ever experienced anybody like telling me that I'm wrong for the way that I believe. Um, and and I will tell you guys, okay, you know that I've questioned things before, obviously. And the religion that I grew up in, I don't agree with everything that I've been taught, but I do still believe in God. And I'll share an experience with you that and I'll do it quickly because I know almost out of time, but I'll share what like secured my faith and what made me believe that there really is a God. And I mean, you could chalk this up to coincidence, or you could say, was divine intervention. Who's to say? So quickly and without crying, because it still like makes me emotional. When I was pregnant with my son, there were a lot of bad things happening. Like I was in a terrible relationship. I got pregnant unexpectedly, and I started to feel really sick at the beginning, which I thought was normal, but things were happening. Like my skin was super itchy, my eyes were turning yellow. Like, what the heck is going on? So I go to the doctor and they tell me, like, your liver enzymes are off. So let's just monitor it for a little bit. Okay. So then at 17 weeks, they call me and they say, you need to go to the hospital immediately. We have a room for you already. Like, get here now. And I've shared a little bit of this story with you guys, so some of you may have already heard it. Anyway, I go to the hospital. They say, you're dying, basically. Like, if you're going to continue with this pregnancy, you are going to die. Your baby's going to die. Like, you're going to have to terminate your pregnancy, or you're going to die. So I said, I can't. I don't. And maybe that sounds dumb to you guys. I was only 17 weeks pregnant, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. So I said, what are my options? I can't do that. They said, okay, well, I guess we just have to see where this goes. We'll monitor you. I had to go to 3 doctor's appointments a week. I made it until I was 36 weeks, which was awesome. But then they again said, emergency, get here now. We have to take this baby immediately because this is terrible. Like, the bile acids in my, because it's a liver condition, your bile acids would overflow into your bloodstream and settle inside and cause you to get very itchy and like jaundicey and attack the placenta. So there's a good chance that your baby can be born stillborn. So anyway, they said, get here now. So not only that, did I have a risk of that, when it was time for me to have my baby, he wouldn't come out. And then when he did come out, he got stuck behind my pelvic bone and they couldn't get him out. And he was without oxygen for so long. When he finally did come out, when the doctor was able to get him out, they said, he's been without oxygen for so long, we don't know if he'll have any permanent brain damage. We also, he can't move his arm. He got injured when they were bringing him out. So anyway, the long story short is now I have a happy, healthy baby. Somehow they were able to get him out. But here's the other part that makes me think that God had his hand in this. The doctor that delivered my baby wasn't even my actual doctor. He just happened to be there, and he said, what happened is you sort of unique, but it was something that I had just taken a class on the week before. And I've never had to experience this, and I've never done this before. So the fact that I had just taken a class on it and happened to be the doctor that was here when you went into labor, he even said this. He said, I'm a man of science. I'm not a man of God, but this could be a miracle. Like, he said something along those lines. I don't know exactly what, but still it makes me think, like, just all of the incidences, I guess, leading up to actually the birth of my baby, it has to be divine intervention. I don't know, because everything was telling me, like, everything was saying, like, you can't have this baby, like, you're not going to have this baby. And now my baby is healthy. He's 10 years old. He has no neurological damage. He can move his arm perfectly. Like, he's healthy. So I don't know, it's just amazing.
Perfect.
And that, like, secured me thinking, like, thank you, Jesus, because without God on my side, I wouldn't have had him. It could have all been a coincidence. It could have been science. Who's to say? But I feel like in my heart, it was God.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing something so positive to end on. That is beautiful. I'm so glad. And he's like the perfect little boy. He's just full of love and laughter, and he's funny. And
Except for he did something bad. He likes Pokemon, and his little friend likes M&M. So he made a Pokemon card with M&M sticking his middle fingers up. I found that in his drawings the other day, and it said, like, I
so
can't remember what it
funny
said, like
because
rap god or something. I'm like, you've got
you
to
don't
stop.
curse, you don't do anything like that, but your kids are so sassy and
Yeah.
funny. I love that so much. Oh gosh, I'm so glad that we get to talk about all of this and share our stories and bond. I love you all so much and appreciate you for making the book even better for me. Really, really impactful. We are going to now vote. Do you want, if you want to split it in threes like normal, just put up 3 fingers. If you want to do it in two, you put up 2 fingers for our next book for the starter villain. And you guys just let me know. Yeah, I'm afraid if we do it in threes, it's gonna go too slow. and we won't be able to enjoy it. It's going to drag too long. So we'll do it in twos. I'll put what we're going to read to and next week in our little synopsis on Facebook. Is there anything anybody needs right now with how hard this is? How much we shared, how emotional it was. Is there anything anybody needs me to say after? I'm here if you need me. You can DM me. I love you all so very much. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and I'll see you next week. Happy reading. Bye, guys.